Dreamscape presents How Leaders Decide, a timeless guide to making tough choices by Greg Bustin, narrated by Jamie Haynes. To the Decision Makers. If you want to understand today, you have to search yesterday. Pearl S. Buck. There are no great men. There are only great challenges, which ordinary men, like you and me, are forced by circumstances to meet. Admiral William F. Bull Halsey. The most difficult thing is the decision to act. The rest is merely tenacity. The fears are paper tigers. You can do anything you decide to do. Amelia Earhart. Preface. It is the characteristic excellence of the strong man that he can bring momentous issues to the fore and make a decision about them. The weak are always forced to decide between alternatives they have not chosen themselves. Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Every day, in enterprises large and small, leaders face issues that can make or break their organization and reputation because of a decision they will make, including the decision to do nothing. Leadership is under the microscope, particularly in today's divisive, politically charged environment. Leadership has never been more important, and decision-making has rarely mattered more. 15 years ago, I was invited to become a chair for Vistage International, the world's largest CEO membership organization, with more than 21,000 members in 17 countries. Once a month, I facilitate 3 group meetings comprising of 32 CEOs and 18 key executives in non-competing businesses who are committed to improving professionally and personally. I conduct private coaching sessions with these executives. I speak to groups of executives all over the world, an average of 3 times per month, and hear directly from them as they wrestle with decision-making. Additionally, the strategic planning sessions I lead expose me to the hopes, fears, and frustrations of leadership teams in numerous industries. From this unique vantage point, as a coach, consultant, and confidant, I see firsthand that even the most successful leaders struggle with decision-making. And once the decision has been made, leaders encounter obstacles that test their commitment and discipline to execute their decision and achieve the outcome they envision. Making the decision is worth nothing without executing it. Leadership, when events and decisions collide. If past history was all there was to the game, the richest people would be librarians. Warren Buffett. While every person makes hundreds of decisions every day, leaders distinguish themselves in their decision-making. The stakes are almost always higher, the number of people affected by their decisions greater, and the responsibility to make the decision is theirs alone. To be a leader, you must make decisions. Colonel John Boyd modeled decision-making in what's known as the OODA loop, observe, orient, decide, act, where, quote, time is the dominant parameter. The leader who goes through the OODA loop in the shortest cycle prevails, noted F-16 designer Harry Hilliker, because his opponent is caught responding to situations that have already changed. Leaders don't always make the right decision. At the front end of most choices, it's impossible to know all of the things that will happen as a result of a single decision. Yet, leaders are compelled to decide without fully knowing the consequences of their choices. Decision-making comes with the territory. Successful leaders learn from a bad decision and make a better decision the next time. Exceptional leaders make more good decisions than others when the stakes are the highest. This book was inspired by responses I received from leaders around the world to blogs I've written on leadership lessons drawn from some of history's greatest triumphs and tragedies. A leader's character and decision-making ability is revealed during extreme conditions. How leaders respond during these moments is at the absolute heart of their story. These insightful, stirring stories prompt today's leaders to reflect on their own situation as they seek to replicate the actions of men and women who made a courageous decision in the face of difficult circumstances and changed history. It's as if today's leaders are saying to themselves, if ordinary people placed in extraordinary circumstances can summon the wisdom and courage to make a tough decision, Perhaps I can channel their experience and energy to make a tough decision in the circumstances I'm facing. I also believe it's just as helpful to read cautionary tales reminding us of the dangers of hubris, false assumptions, and creating a culture where standing up for your beliefs can be a career-limiting move. Good leaders are students of history, and they love a good story. Even better if they can soak up a little history in a story relevant to their business that takes just 10 minutes to read. This book provides you with inspiring examples of leadership and decision-making in bite-sized formats that prompt you to internalize your learning and record your thoughts at a pace of one lesson per week. How the entries were selected. History is a gallery of pictures in which there are few originals and many copies. Alexis de Tocqueville. Each of the 52 vignettes, one for each week of the year, illuminates decision-making by leaders in some of the biggest moments in history. In peacetime, in battle, in business, sports, science, technology, government, the arts, and in the otherwise ordinary routine of daily life. The principles, approaches, and insights examined in this book work for any leader in any organization. The lessons transcend size of organization or team, field of endeavor, geography, and time. This book is not intended to be a scholarly work, though the facts supporting each of the 52 vignettes have been established by scholars, historians, journalists, and others. Their work is recognized and recommended in the bibliography. I've combed through more than 25,000 events to uncover little-known or oft-obscured circumstances where, in each case, a leader faced a decision that, once made, reverberated around their world, if not the entire world. I identified the key decision a leader made that ultimately led to triumph or tragedy. In many instances, it's likely you know about the event or person, but you may be less familiar with the context surrounding the decision. It's less likely you've paused to consider the implication of that decision from the perspective of what's happening today in your world. This book is not a collection of anniversary dates, so the April 15, 1912 sinking of Titanic is not this book's focus, but rather the decision made 27 months earlier by Bruce Ismay, managing director of the White Star Line, the company that commissioned Titanic, to enlarge the ship's grand staircase. This decision meant each bulkhead of the 16 watertight compartments was lowered so that when Titanic collided with the iceberg, the forward compartments were flooded within 160 minutes, sinking a ship that many considered unsinkable. Of all the criteria for selecting events, the most challenging step became a matter of identifying a particular puzzle piece of history and placing that puzzle piece in chronological order as the event, regardless of year, occurred during a particular month. There are 5 stories for each of the 5 weeks in January, 4 for February, and so on. Notable events occur in every month, so the biggest decisions involving the biggest risks of power, prestige, money, and, in several instances, loss of life are included. For instance, James Burke's October 5, 1982 decision to recall 31 million bottles of Tylenol, following 7 deaths in the face of what many believed would kill the brand, gave way to President Kennedy's October 1962 decisions during the Cuban Missile Crisis to avert nuclear war with Russia. The leader must decide. You get whatever accomplishment you are willing to declare. Georgia O'Keeffe. In all 52 entries, the events and leaders selected represent the zenith, or nadir, of decision-making and are showcased to invite today's leaders to reflect, connect the dots to their own situation, and then make informed decisions on matters they may have avoided or considered insoluble. Each of us has flaws, and the men and women profiled here are no different. Thomas Jefferson wrote eloquently of liberty, yet kept slaves. Franklin D. Roosevelt, John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King Jr., and Nelson Mandela were unfaithful to their wives. Walt Disney and Henry Ford faced accusations of anti-Semitism. Marie Curie had an affair with her late husband's married student. No man is a hero to his valet, quipped Anne-Marie Bigot de Cornuelle, the one-time mistress of King Louis XIV. But for all of these flaws, at a crucial moment in their lives, and in the lives of others who had placed their trust in them, these men and women found themselves alone as they considered the risks, weighed their options, confronted their beliefs, hopes, and fears, and ultimately made a profound decision that changed history's trajectory. There's no single silver bullet for making difficult decisions. In my work with leaders and in my own consulting practice, I recognize that leaders often make the tough decisions when the pain of not making them becomes greater than the pain of making them. The point for all of us is that it is the decision to decide that matters. Introduction. We sow our thoughts, and we reap our actions. We sow our actions, and we reap our habits. We sow our habits, and we reap our characters. We sow our characters, and we reap our destiny. Desiderius Erasmus. Leadership is hard. The ultimate responsibility for the success or failure of your team, department, or organization is in your hands. People are counting on you to put them in a position to succeed. To lead effectively, to inspire people to do more than they think they can do, you're making decisions every day. Some decisions are bigger than others, and some are tougher than others. Few of the momentous decisions you'll make present choices as starkly drawn as yes or no, now or later, or this or that. How do you establish a framework for ethical decision-making? How do you communicate and instill this framework throughout your organization so it becomes second nature? How do you ensure the decisions you make will yield the results you expect? What do you do if you make a bad decision? How do you respond to controversy, crises, and setbacks? The leaders you will meet in this book wrestled with these types of questions. The circumstances they faced and the decisions they made in their moment of truth can guide you as you make yours. How to use this book. In any moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing, the next best thing is the wrong thing, and the worst thing you can do is nothing. Theodore Roosevelt. Most of the leaders I work with meet as non-competing peers for a full day every month. In between these monthly group meetings, I meet with leaders in one-on-one executive coaching sessions, or am invited to participate in senior management team meetings. This type of twice-a-month schedule works well in terms of establishing a rhythm for moving things along, keeping people informed, and providing an accountability support system to ensure the commitments executives make are honored. But what happens in between these semi-monthly check-ins? Would a more frequent cadence be better? Some leaders use daily diaries, journals, and timesheets to list their activities, record their allocation of time, and jot down their thoughts. Some leaders I work with use these types of journals and love them. As a consultant, I hated daily timekeeping, so I'm biased against a daily diary, which seems to me to be a bit of overkill. I believe a weekly approach strikes the right balance for any leader who is committed to decision-making and the discipline of following through on their decision, and so that's how I've organized this book. The entries you'll find in the following pages are intended to be read week by week, not several entries in one sitting, nor for extended periods of time. This book is filled with leadership insights, and these insights should be used to help you make better decisions in a range of circumstances. For about 10 minutes per week, you can tap into a quick history lesson and then spend another 5 or 10 minutes recording your thoughts to the questions posed in each entry. You can start at the beginning of the book or turn to the entry that corresponds to the week or month when you're reading the entry, or pick an entry that examines a subject that's of particular interest to you. This book condenses some of history's greatest events into a single volume. If you are interested in learning more about a particular person or event, the bibliography, for the most part full-length books, provides a terrific reading list. Use this book for yourself. Answer the questions posed in each of the 52 entries as part of a process to help you focus your thinking and determine your course of action on a decision you're facing now or in the future. You also can use this book as a guide with your colleagues to help your team examine decisions that need to be made for your department, division, or entire business enterprise. You may also choose to use the book with any other group that you believe would benefit from reviewing the entries and then answering thought-provoking questions. This is a book you can return to again and again. The issues examined in the 52 vignettes are both perennial and universal. So you likely will find that